Playwright Paula Vogel is back with a new work, Mother Play, a play in 5 evictions. It's a limited engagement at the Hayes Theater. Vogel won a Pulitzer Prize for the show How I Learned to Drive in 1998, after it premiered off-Broadway in 1997. Similar to How I Learned to Drive in Mother Play, she takes audiences on a very personal journey.
The play is a deconstructed memory play written by a daughter rather than a son. A lot of the mother plays out there are written by sons. And it features an extraordinary woman being played by the extraordinary Jessica Lange, a single mother of 2 children who is bringing her children up in a series of custodial apartments and basement apartments. We would now call it Section 8 housing, but that word didn't exist back then. And they are living below the poverty line. So we moved often. One of my mother's favorite sayings was, "Revenge is next to godliness." So she was very inventive in resistance to our slum landlords, and hence a lot of eviction notices. So the subtitle is A Play in 5 Evictions.
The play takes us back to 1962, outside DC. Matriarch Phyllis and her 2 teens, Carl and Martha, are moving into a new apartment. The family is trying to survive an ever-changing world.
Never in my wildest dreams could I imagine that Jessica Lange would be playing this character based on Mom. I have a dream cast.
She's right, the play has an extraordinary cast. In a role written for her, Celia Keenan plays a character based on Vogel herself. Jim Parsons plays her brother. And Jessica Lange returns to Broadway as their mother. Tell me about Phyllis.
Phyllis is a very complex character, extremely emotional, vulnerable, fragile, tough. She is, in the end, a tragic figure.
This play spans decades.
Yes.
I believe you go 30 to 75.
Right.
It's not your first time doing something like that. You did that in Grey
Grey
Gardens.
Gardens, yep. So
what is that like, Jessica, kind of diving into a role knowing that you're going to have to age in front of the audience that is watching you?
Well, it's different on stage, and this play moves so fast. It's not as though, with Grey Gardens, for instance, playing Big Edie, and aging her up into her 70s, 80s. We had prosthetics. We had, maybe sometimes 4 hours in the makeup trailer. That obviously is not happening here, so you have to find a way to portray the age without all the aging, mechanism that you would use in film, for instance. So this is a unique, it's a unique challenge. You have to do it through voice, through movement, through energy levels. You have to find the emotional content for each of those ages and what's happened to that character as she's gone along.
Jim, you are in such great company.
Yes.
You are bookended by Jessica Lange and Celia Keenan.
Yeah.
This is a theatergoer's dream seeing the 3 of you on a stage.
So. That's very nice, but yeah, I'm in heaven. I knew I was going to do this from the moment the email came and said, "You've been offered a role in a new Paula Vogel play." I was like, well, of course I'll read it first, but I don't know what I'd have to read to go, oh, I don't think I'm gonna do that. I was like, I just never dreamed I'd get to be a part of a new Paula Vogel piece. And so everything else was a bonus.
Don't be silly. My voice is deep and sonorous, like a Caucasian James Earl Jones.
The Big Bang Theory shot you into stardom, if you will. But you always come back to the theater. I just want to quickly go back to The Normal Heart because I watched a recent interview that you did, and you talked about how being in the theater and doing that show was a very moving and emotional experience for you.
It was my Broadway debut. It was multi-layered. As a gay man, it was the first time I'd been a part of a piece of theater really that explored at a very realistic level gay life in general. I just hadn't been in anything that had really done that. And AIDS in particular, especially the beginning era of the pandemic, of which I was very young, 11, 12, 13, but it affected me deeply. It was a reminder to me at a very deep level of what drew me to theater in the beginning. It was all about that deep, deep desire from the first time you saw a play of knowing I want to be a part of a machine that tells a story that's that effective, that is that touching. And that was, to this day, was still a pinnacle experience of exactly that.
I have loved the theater since I was 5 years old growing up in Detroit, Michigan.
Celia Keenan Bolger steps back on stage after her Tony Award-winning performance as Scout in To Kill a Mockingbird. She can also be seen on the small screen in The Gilded Age, which is in production for its 3rd season. Keenan Bolger says she has tremendous respect for Paula Vogel.
I just think she is like one of our great American playwrights. I feel an enormous responsibility. And she had sort of said to me over the years, she was like, I'm writing something. And I was like, for me? And I didn't want to get too excited about it. And then I read it and I was like, oh my God, it's like to play her.
You're part of a show where the star, director, playwright, and producer are over the age of 60. Why was that meaningful to you?
I just started thinking about our industry and just our culture that I think really values youth and beauty. And it means that as women, after a certain age, I think you become sort of invisible. And I've worked with unbelievable collaborators who are men, but I do think there is something very, very, very special about having proximity to all of that wisdom and trying to think about, like, if I get to keep doing this as long as I want to, like, how am I going to show up in those spaces? But I feel like there's a lot of talk in our industry of, like, how can we make this industry better? And it's like, in some ways it requires big thinking, and in some ways it requires, I think, just asking women over 60 what they imagine could make a better rehearsal room or a better process.
When you think of Mother Play, is there something you want people to take away?
It is a play about forgiveness. Forgiving maybe somebody specific that you feel hurt you, or forgiving yourself. I'm finding myself even practicing it more with myself, like, you know, oh, I don't like the way this scene's going. It's okay, let it go, forgive, move on. It's
cathartic.
It's magical in that way.
You're taking on Paula Vogel's brand new play.
Yeah.
What do you look for when you say yes to a project? What excites Jessica Lange?
The emotional journey, yeah. And this one was huge, obviously. I didn't think twice about saying yes to this. It was instantaneous. I read it and I thought, I'm gonna do this.
What do you think, if your mom were here to see this show right now?
I think she'd be laughing. I think she'd weep. I hope she feels my love. I hope the audience feels love for their mothers. I hope we feel love for our daughters and our sons. That's what I hope. But I think she'd most of all go, Jessica Lange.
Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest information, balanced coverage, weather updates every 10 minutes, and more. We'll see you then.